Coming up this week, I get chauffeured to work in a Pimp Wagon Deluxe. I land on a very short runway in Maui, Hawaii, and I celebrate 23 years with my wife in the same state, but on a different island. Okay, let's get started.
And hello, it is June 26th, 9:19 a.m., and I am indeed headed to Maui, Hawaii on a 3-day trip that barely fit in my schedule by 6 minutes. 6 minutes. If I had gone over my previous 3 trips by 2 minutes per trip, 2 minutes per trip, anyway, 7 more minutes, I could not have done this trip. Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist. Different kind of video for me this week. I'm being driven to work in the Pimp Wagon Deluxe because we are both going to Hawaii, but we're going entirely different ways, and I'm going twice. So today I have a 3-day trip to Maui, relief pilot position, and how my schedule will work this month, I could only get a Hawaii trip on my last 3 days of reserve. And this one came out of nowhere. Like yesterday I was sitting at home, day off, and this was an open time during the morning assignment of trips. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go anywhere. Maybe I'll get a 2-day trip, a random fly to LA to head back, which did open up last night, but didn't get it. Or a series of day trips or nothing at all, which presented a problem because, again, she's going to Hawaii on a family vacation, which I don't have vacation days for. They're going to Kona tomorrow and then staying through next week on Saturday, whole week. I have no vacation days. I'm going to Maui today on a trip. I come back Saturday morning, in theory at 6 in the morning. And then because that's my last day of reserve for the month, and I'm automatically released when I get back because I'm done, I'm going to come home, pack my bags, and then head back to the airport to fly on my airline to Honolulu, and then connect to either Hawaiian or on Southwest over to Kona and join them Saturday afternoon. It'll be a crazy day of flying because, again, I'll be flying from Maui to Dallas, Dallas to Honolulu, Honolulu to Kona, all within 24-hour time span. Good times. Now, why am I being driven to get over that lane? 18-wheeler with rocks throwing at the windshield. Why am I being driven to work? Great question. Because I am too cheap to pay for airport parking for 7 days. So what I'm going to do instead is she drive me to work now. Then tomorrow she'll drive to work. She'll drive to the airport with the kids, park the car at the terminal. I'll then pick up her car on Saturday. I'll drive back home, and then I'll go back to the airport in my own car or Uber, depending on how I want to play it, and go fly to Honolulu. So here's what it is. Again, for this month, from all my reserve days, I didn't get used every single day. I think when I counted, I've done 4 trips. 1 was an extra day, so that was a total of 13 days. Plus, I did work 1 day for my landing training, so I worked 14 days this month, which isn't bad for reserve, right? I guess I had an extra 4 days off reserve days where I didn't get used. So it is what it is. Again, it's relief proposition to Maui. I've been to Maui one other time previously. That was a deadhead there on a 787 and then relief pilot back. It'll be my first time flying in Maui and in the flight deck. It's fairly short runway. The captain, I looked up. I've flown with him both on the Airbus and then I've flown with him on the 777. I think just one trip from London back to Dallas, and maybe another trip after that. The FO, they're both very senior. They're like 1,000 seniority range and 2,000 seniority range. The FO could hold captain on 777 now. FO I've never flown with. But I'm gonna head to the airport and see how, again, the 3-pilot crew to Honolulu is stupid easy. It's less than 8 hours flying total. So, all right, let's head to the airport, get dropped off in the Pimp Wagon Deluxe, and get this. It is a Pimp Wagon Deluxe. It's purple with blue. It's
Okay.
purple with blue wheels.
It is, and it's beautiful, and I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Random fact, DFW Airport is one of the only airports in the country, I think the other is Boston, that you must pay money to drop off or pick somebody up from the airport. It used to be free between 8 and 30 minutes. Now it's cost money for everybody. And the reason why 8 minutes, well, that's how long it takes to go from the north gate to the south gate. So if you went there in under 8 minutes, you're passing through. More than 8 minutes, you're picking somebody up. I think it's ridiculous to have to pay money to drop somebody off or pick someone up from the airport. Anyways, my awesome wife dropped me off right in front of the KCM in Terminal D. I grabbed my bags and headed inside. And I've had a lucky streak lately of not getting randomed by KCM. I don't know what's going on, but I appreciate it. Again, I do travel with 3 bags: my main suitcase, my kit bag, and then I have my little small bag that has all my electronics, my laptop, and all that fun stuff inside. Once I clear KCM, the very first thing I do is I log in for my trip, report for my trip. I do it via my phone. My airline, it makes an app, as GPS and all kind of other sensors. They know exactly where I am when I sign in. I can't sign in from home. And when I sign in, it tells me how many hours I have on the airplane and how many landings I have. Again, I am good for landings again. There's a discrepancy between the company hours and my logbook hours. The company gives me credit for 530 hours roughly of time in a 777. My actual time is 931 hours. Why the difference? Well, the company only counts the time depending on how many crew are on board. So if it's a 4-person crew, they log half the time. If it's a 3-person crew, they log 2/3 the time. That's how they do it. In my logbook, I just log everything. It's easier that way. Anyways, leaving from Terminal D as normal. I was the first one to get to the airplane. I did get to meet one of my flight attendants who hit me to the agricultural form I had to fill out for Hawaii. I did it online this time. Easier than doing it, versus the old-fashioned paper. This 777 has the forward and backward-facing business class seats, my preference. Put my bag above seat 1A and head up to the flight deck. Again, I get the flight deck ready for both of the captain and the first officer. I'm the only relief pilot on this trip, so my bags can go wherever I want them to. The whole back row is indeed mine. I put my kit bag under the second relief, a jump seat, and my little bag on top. Then I store my jacket and get to work. I do the basic pre-flight of the front and rear of the flight deck. I don't load the FMS necessarily. I just get the FMS ready for the pilots to load it. But I get the power established, do all the basic testing, put the trash bags in place. Speaking of trash bags, this is something that the Dallas people do. We put trash bags on the outboard armrest. I learned that other bases do it a different way. This is easier. We're going on a long flight. Most trips, those trash bags get pretty darn full. I turn on the battery master and then get the systems ready for the flight deck. I do some testing, like the fire system test, the evacuation test, system test, and other things. And then I load the FMS, just the initial routing. That's all I load. I let them do everything else. Once I get this portion done, I head back out to the cabin, grab my safety vest, and do the exterior of the pre-flight of the airplane. And on average, it takes me about 10 to 12 minutes for 777-200 to do a full exterior pre-flight check. It's a big, long airplane. And we're discussing the flight and the departure. I normally will give the captain a few numbers, a overweight landing for an immediate return, how much distance we need if we lose 2 hydraulic systems, and how much fuel we need, how much landing distance we need to be able to come back for a single engine landing. Those are the big 3 most captains want to be interested in. 777 has such phenomenal performance. It's rarely an issue, but I give the numbers so it's already done in case we have to do that. Now, as far as our departure, we are doing the Harper 3 departure over to Halsey. Being a much lighter plane than going over the oceans, we could easily make the restriction at EML 240 and above 5,000 feet. Standard routing all the way over to the coast. I was in the back for most of this. I came back up just before Denti. That is our entry to the quote-unquote oceanic portion. And on the way to Hawaii, they have several different jet airways, and they're labeled like D, E, F, G. All the waypoints on mine started with the letter D. They have an E, an F, and some other ones. I'm not super familiar, but I do remember that portion. But we're on the D track. Every fix starts with D all the way over till we enter the Hawaiian airspace. Again, we do use CPDLC, so we didn't have to talk to anybody at all across the whole Pacific Ocean. So I was up front from just before that first Denti fix until we arrived into Hawaii. As far as our arrival, we did the Lindy 1 RNAV arrival that connected to the RNP RNAV Zulu runway 2 approach, which is a pretty interesting and fun approach. I've only done one RNP approach when I was flying. That was into Denver many years ago. It's not that common, at least for where we fly on my current aircraft, but it's something we can do. But there are some gotchas on this arrival and this approach. So if you notice, there's Lindy, Munju, and Homai. This is part of the arrival. You will see those same, so you'll see Homai again on the approach. There's a gotcha you'll see when I do the recreation. The FAA gives us these pretty pictures to look at. So this is what runway 2 should look like when we get there. This is what the airport looks like on a downwind, and you see all the terrain to the north and south of the airfield. There's the volcano at 5,788 feet to the north, and then the peak to the south goes over 10,000 feet. So that creates some interesting winds going through here, right? I imagine these two little high peaks and that little valley in between. I'm told it's always windy in Hawaii, especially in Maui. It can present some very challenging conditions, especially if you're going between those two terrain pieces with all that wind. Yeah, it can be fun and bumpy. Thankfully, on our approach, it wasn't that bad. So after takeoff, I headed back to my chair, getting a weird facing seat. They were just starting their meal service. My flight attendant asked if I wanted a hot towel. I'm like, no, I'm going to sleep now. Put on my headphones, leaned back, and took about an hour nap. It wasn't real long, but again, I only had just under 2 hours of total break time. But again, it's the middle of the day, right? This flight left around 11 in the morning. I'm not exhausted, but I can nap when I need to. So I took a nap, woke up. I did watch some Dignation. I love this new podcast. It's an old but revised podcast. I first occupied the captain's seat, then the FO seat, and then back to my seat. Now, when we were on our way there with the captain, we were discussing the arrival into Maui and what approach we should probably get and all that kind of stuff. So we actually ran the numbers for everything. So when the FO came back up front, he could sit down and he would be all good to go. Now, on board, we use a landing distance calculator on our EFB. It is similar to what you see here. We put in similar data to get our numbers. In this first example, I use auto brakes 3 all the way to a stop. I need 7,115 feet. That means we land and I never touch the brake pedals. Not very likely. Many pilots will use auto brakes of some setting and then transition to manual braking. That's more normal, but that is what that number there is, right? 7,115. Now, if I put on auto brakes max, which I've never seen outside the sim, calculate that, that's 4,725 feet. Now, if I use auto brakes manual, I mean landing and slamming on the brakes right away, is 3,525. Okay. Now, if I use auto brakes 2, then I get 7,535. The runway is only 6,995 feet long. So I can't really use auto brakes 2 to a stop, but what I can do is have auto brakes 2 and transition to manual braking because I'll be between the slam on the brake number and the auto brake 2 number, which is again will be less than 6,995 feet. We just have to prove we can stop. All right. Anyways, on to the approach. So again, we're doing the Lindy 1 arrival, RNAV Zulu, runway 2 from the Homai. And we're going straight to Lindy. There is no transition on the arrival. Got it? Again, there's a gotcha in this approach. So right now we're going straight to Lindy. And then you'll see on the legs page is Lindy, Munju, Homai, then vectors, and then Homai again. And you're thinking, well, that doesn't look right because we're supposed to go to Lindy and then clear for, the Lindy arrival, clear for the approach, right? So let's look at where the plane's going. We go to the plan page and we do this in the real airplane and we step through the approach. So we go Lindy, Munju, Homai, vectors, Homai again. And look closely at the ND there, the navigation display. You will see an extra line going from Homai. That extra line is vectors, meaning we're going to hit Homai and go straight. The plane will not turn once it gets to Zordi like it's supposed to. So let's fix it. We take Homai, put it on top of Homai, we execute it. We always confirm with the other pilot, of course. And now the plane is going to do what we expect, what we are cleared to do. The RNAV2 approach from Homai. Now it all makes sense. So go ahead and put on auto brakes 3. That's what I want to use for my landing here. And then go back and put everything else I need for the approach. So the barrel mins are 394 feet. You'll see it there at the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to scroll down to 394 and put it on both sides. And that will help the VNAV system. It knows where to descend to. VNAV isn't working perfectly on this plane. It does in the real plane, but it's close enough that after like 17 takes, I can get this plane to do what I want it to do. So put in 394, it goes on both sides, and we will start, and we'll go ahead and push in the altitude knob to let the plane know, yes, I want you to descend on a VNAV path down to really 400 feet. It's fine. I'm putting 400 feet in the altitude pre-select. You can see that in the top right-hand corner of my PFD. In magenta, it has 400 feet. I push the altitude knob button in, and the plane will now be on a VNAV path down to 400 feet, meeting all altitude constraints all the way down. It is a beautiful thing. When you do an RNAV approach in the 777, you don't hit the approach button ever. We do LNAV and BNAV down to we call it, it's a DA. But yeah, DA, because we're using BNAV on this plane, on this approach. So we're going to hit Lindy and keep on trucking. And then once we get to the 5,000 foot crossing restriction at Homai, the plane will begin descending. And again, and I'm doing this more than once because I'm trying to I'll make sure the plane's doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's why you're seeing me move around the flight deck. I do the best I can for you guys. The plane will begin descending from Homai all the way down to the runway. And again, this is a high downwind. I said my approach speed for flaps 30 is 129. My ref speed is 129. I'll be flying it 5 knots faster at least 134 knots. I'm all set up now. So I see my VNAV scale on the ND, meaning the plane is set up for VNAV. And we're just going to truck on toward Homai, and all should be good. Terrain radar goes on both sides. So again, it's a VFR day outside. We can see the terrain up ahead, but we'll also see it on our ND. ND stands for Navigational Display. Now that it's all set up, we're going to skip ahead to the top of the descent right by Homai, and the video will be also 2 times normal speed. This to save some time. It takes a long time to do this approach, and I value your time. So here we are approaching Homai. There's the airport over there, getting on a nice high downwind, still right at 5,000 feet. And once we get to Homai, the plane will begin descending, and we'll have to start getting dirty to get drag. So out goes flaps 1 and then flaps 5. We're doing 210 knots. The engines, look at them, they are flight idle, and the plane will keep accelerating. We have a quartering headwind right now, but the plane will keep accelerating as we descend, so we're going to have additional drag. So at some point, I'll put out my speed brakes, and I'll get the speed brakes out, and I'll put out the flaps 15. First, on the airspeed indicator, the green numbers are the minimum speed you should be flying for that flap setting. Not the max speed, the min speed. So flaps 5, that's the slowest I should go at flaps 5. I shouldn't go below that. And then flaps 15 when they go out, and so forth. You should not go below what the plane can actually support. And as practice, you don't put the speed knob below what you can actually fly. I'm at flaps 15. Life is good. Doing speed 180. The speed brakes have now been retracted, and I'll soon arm the speed brakes. Coming around the corner, life is good. I'm on my LNAV path, and I'm on my VNAV path. Everything looks good. You see on my center display, it says speed brakes armed. It is checked off by the airplane. It can sense many items. Coming around the corner, I'll keep slowing down. And this plane will give it's very annoying on short final. It gives me a terrain warning to pull up. It is a simism. The plane doesn't do that. The other day, it gave me a warning about the mountain straight ahead. I don't know why it doesn't know where it is, but again, this is like my 17th or 18th take at this video. So on the 160, and again, I can still support it with my flaps. Come around the corner, and then you can see the runway coming into view. Gear's been put down, flaps 25, and then flaps 30. I'll slow the video down to real-time speed here, below 1,000 feet. Now, once I'm on my path, and I'm several hundred feet below my mission approach altitude, I can set the mission approach altitude, and you can see it's been set to 3,000 feet. So the plane's going to descend down to 400 feet, because that's what it knew. That's what I activated. If I go missed, it's already armed at 3,000 feet. All right, let's go ahead and slow down the video to real time. Now looking at my wind vector, I have a quartering tailwind. In reality, it was more of a crosswind. I didn't want to play with the weather too much on the flight sim because it's very tricky to get right. But life is good. But you'll see a TCAS or a terrain warning here in a second. There it is. And then a pull up. It's very annoying and it's distracting on the flight sim. Again, it does not happen in real life. Autopilot has been turned off. You can verify that because it says flight director on my PFD. No longer says autopilot. Again, the runway is just under 7,000 feet long, which seems long for a Piper Seminole or a Cessna 172 for a 777. It is on the short side. Again, we have plenty of runway distance. We did the calculations, but it's nothing you want to play around with. You're not trying to grease it on here and make it all pretty. But now you see the pull up. It's very distracting on the flight sim. It does not happen in real life. I don't know why the flight sim is freaking out about landing at the Maui airport, but it is. The visuals here are decent. They're a little bit better in X-Plane, believe it or not, but it's fine. Coming in, again, landing in the touchdown zone. First 1/3 of the runway, we want to land just beyond the 1,000-foot markers, maybe just before on a short runway, but never on the numbers. That's way too short for a long aircraft. Down and done, begin braking. The thrust reversers wouldn't activate for whatever reason, so I just used max manual braking, and we turned off right where we did in real life, right at the Gulf intersection. Cleared the runway to the gate, and we were done. Thankfully, everybody got their plane fairly quickly. 2:04 p.m. Took a quick picture of the airplane. Why? Because it's pretty cool looking, and that's the actual photo. Now, the Maui airport hadn't changed very much. My wife and I came here over a decade ago. It looks exactly the same inside. I mean, I guess don't need to change much. Most people don't wait too long in the terminal, but walk down the terminal, down the escalator, onto the van, and head over to the crew hotel. It's a nice day in Hawaii. I'll say that much. And again, I'm not too exhausted because it's been a whole daytime flight the entire way here. All right, so it is currently 3:04 p.m. local in Hawaii, 8:04 p.m. in Dallas. Dallas to Hawaii is a stupid easy flight. So I got dropped off by my wife. Got to the gate, went down with one of the flight attendants, and I was the first one there. So I did everything in the inside of the flight deck, did my pre-flight, and the FO and captain were there when I got back. Again, I flew with the captain before previously, once on the 777, then I had the engine failure with him on the Airbus. Super nice guy. He's retiring in just 2 months. Unfortunate. He's a great guy to fly with. FO was very senior, very, very senior. Again, the age discrepancy, even though I'm old, they're older. Captain is 64, FO is 62. Launched on time, actually a few minutes early. When it left, we were light enough to make the climbing restrictions at B Park, which again, going to Asia, we normally can't make that restriction. Asked the captain when he wanted to be back in his seat prior to, everyone back in their seats prior to arrival. They said 30 minutes. Works for me. It's a domestic flight. The FO comes here a lot. The FO likes Hawaii a lot. He's very senior. So I made the rest breaks. We each had about 2 hours, 15 minutes-ish. Headed back to seat 1A. Got myself ready. Took a nap. About an hour and a half, hour and 10-minute nap. Woke up, watched some videos, got some coffee, had a snack, and just relaxed. Went back up front to the captain's seat first, and we were just right next to LAX. The captain went on break, I was flying, and the FO had already done the CP DLC check. So different than going out over the Atlantic in that we don't he did the CP DLC check on. While we're still talking with VHF to SoCal, I guess it was, Center. And that was it. Once we got to a fix, the ATC said something along the lines of, release to UHF frequencies, good day. Since we already did the cell call check, we didn't talk to anybody else. We were on CPDLC all the way across the ocean. So I was up there for the captain's break. Came back up front. I got in the FO seat. I was pilot monitoring. We do similar to my video about Barcelona. We do the waypoint still, and the fuel progress and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, easy. Came into here, and it was interesting. I hope I did a flight sim recreation. We did the RNAV RNP approach into here. Nice sweeping turn, short runway. Captain made a good landing. Got off at Gulf, I believe it was, right before runway 23, into the gate, and done. Nice hotel room. I have a suite for some reason. I didn't have a suite last time I was here. Again, it's 8:30 at home, so I'm just going to get dinner. I had a meal on the way here. I had a vegetarian meal. Didn't eat a lot of it for obvious reasons, because of semaglutide, if you're the first time watching me in this video. I'm going to get dinner at 2:30 in the afternoon and call it done. I'll probably go to bed probably about 3-4 hours from now, just to stay on my local time zone. I'm gonna stay on my home time zone for this trip, because yeah, tomorrow we head back to Dallas and I come back to Hawaii, but there'll be stuff in between. All right, let's go find dinner. So back from my shopping adventure, I did go to the ABC store. I looked at some restaurants, and I'm not super hungry, so it is what it is. I got a chicken katsu bowl. Some ube pie. It was on 20% off.
I'm cheap because it has to be sold today. I did get some dragon fruit. I'm skeptical if it'd be sweet or not, but I'm a sucker for fruit. I love fruit, right? And 2 Pellegrinos. They don't sell orange juice here, not at the ABC store by the hotel. That's a little bit annoying. And I also got, for later, because I get super hungry, a pizza stick and a chicken teriyaki stick. Because again, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm probably going to go to bed soon. I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I hate being hungry in the middle of the night and not having food, so it's what it is. But that is the $20, not too bad. I still eat like an RJ pilot, really cheap. All right, bon appetit. All right, good morning. It's currently 8:39 a.m. local, 1:39 p.m. in Dallas. I've been awake since 11:30 p.m. here. Now, I did go to bed, pretty sure it's around like 5 o'clock last night, 5:30 last night, local. So I slept for a good 6 hours or so. Because again, 11:30 here, well, it's like 4:30 in Dallas, I guess, at 3:30 in Dallas. Didn't sleep a lot last night, which is fine, because again, I have to go to bed again, and I decided to stay on local Dallas home time versus switch to Hawaii time because of my crazy traveling I'm doing right now. But right now, I am out on a walk. It is again beautiful day in Maui. I've been lucky to have really nice weather for overnights lately for all of my trips. So that is a nice perk. Now, right now, my wife and kids are sitting in first class on an Airbus headed to a nearby island, Kona, while I'm here. For me to get to Kona tomorrow will be interesting. I have multiple options in the pilot ride. You can't fly to Kona direct from Dallas. You can fly from Phoenix or from LA. So I can either get in at 6 in the morning, go home, get my backpack, go back to the airport and go to Phoenix and then go to Kona. I'd be on a jump seat for almost sure from Dallas to Phoenix and in a middle seat from Phoenix to Kona. Or I can go home, take a nap, go back to the airport and get a 777 jump seat, most likely, to Honolulu and then hop over to Kona pretty easily. The jump seat on the 777, it would probably be the actual jump seat. Now, there are 2 crew rest seats, right? 2 bunks, sorry. And my experience has been no pilots use the bunks on the daytime flying to Hawaii. So if they offer it to me, that'd be great. If not, I can still sleep on the flight deck jump seat. It's big enough, I'm in the corner, I'll be out of everyone's way. Eye mask, headphones, I'm out. So, because the flight is full. It's full. It's a dilemma, right? Would you rather do a jump seat and a middle seat for 6 hours or a 777 jump seat for 7 hours? I think I'll hit the 777 jump seat. I know going from Honolulu to Kona, there's 2 flights right away I can get on Hawaiian and then a later flight on Southwest. I'm not too worried about going from Honolulu to Kona. That's pretty easy. So we'll see. But right now, again, it's 8:42. I've walked 1.5 miles already. I'm going to walk for at least 2 more miles, if not 3 more miles. Get closer to lunchtime. I plan on going to bed here about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then sleeping for a good 3 hours, hopefully, and then get ready to go back to Dallas. So we will see. But hopefully I put some B-roll in here and not just be staring at this silly camera. It is a fabulous day here in Hawaii. There's an airplane somewhere, I can hear it. It's like a caravan. Can't spot it. Oh, wait, he's straight up above. Oh, yeah, anyways. There goes an airplane, but I'm gonna go finish my walking and find some lunch here. All right, let's go.
So it was a beautiful day on the Maui coast. I walked several miles up and down the coast, getting my steps in, seeing the sights. I can't ask for better weather. I'm sure I'm going to have some days of bad overnight weather soon, but I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. I was in search of lunch. I just wanted food, so I went back to the ABC store again for lunch. Yeah, I am boring. Anyways, I always look weird without glasses on. I got a San Pellegrino Limonata, some little, I forgot what these are called, but little ball thing, and a burger and fry from the ABC store for lunch. It was fine. I ate about half of it. And now it is 10:49 in the morning. 3:49 p.m. in Dallas. We leave in the 5 o'clock hour, right? Like 5:50 p.m. So I am going to take a shower, shave, pack my room up, and go to bed. I plan on sleeping from around 11:30 to like 3. So a good 3.5 hours. I mean, I should be able to be in bed by 11:15. Hopefully sleep by 11:30. So about 3.5 hours, 3 hours of sleep. Good nap in before the flight. Because again, I go to bed right away. So it's gonna be an interesting 24 hours plus. Should be in Dallas for a couple hours, and then back on. In theory, I think I'm going on a 777 to Honolulu, and then hop on Hawaiian over to Kona. Again, Maui is wasted on me. I am not a beach person. If you don't know this about me, I consider the ocean nature's toilet. I don't go in nature's toilet. It's just not who I am. And I'm also allergic to sand, so it's wasted on me. All right, shower and bed. All right, pretty good nap. I did go to bed right around 11:15. I think I had about 2 hours and 45 minutes of actual sleep. So I feel I feel a little groggy, but after a nap, I feel pretty good. Because again, right now it's almost 9 o'clock at night in Dallas, so I feel pretty good. As far as the flight time, the plane came in on time, landed about 1:57. Well, got to the gate at 1:57 p.m. We don't leave till 5:50 p.m., so the plane will be ready for us to go. So as far as the wife and kids, they are on the final approach into Kona, Kalui. 5 minutes to go, and they'll be landing. So I should have time to call and text them before I leave back for DFW, and then I can make my trek back to here. So we'll be in the same state. We'll be in the same state. But yeah, Hawaii is wasted on me. It is. I'm not a Hawaii person. I'm not a beach person. So I did my 3.5 miles of walking, got my lunch, went to bed, and then I watched Squid Game. It came out today. So I have one episode left. Really good show. Very gory, but a good show overall. But I am going to finish Car Trek. I watched that on YouTube. My room is packed up, and then head downstairs and head to the airport. All right. And my kids actually have more seat time in the Airbus than I do this year. The flight crew from the flight from Dallas to Phoenix was awesome, apparently, and they didn't know who I was, didn't know who they were. This awesome crew, and put them both in the flight deck during pre-boarding. Pretty neat. As far as the drive to the airport, very standard. Again, we all got in a van, got to the airport. Again, it's kind of interesting in Hawaii. I've only been to Honolulu, Maui, and well, Kona after this video, and all of the security is outside. Like it's covered, but it is outside. But cleared security. There is no KCM in Maui. Once you do go through the security, you walk a bit, and you still have to go through an agriculture inspection before you can leave the mainland. So I put my bags through another scanner, got to the gate, onto the airplane. Again, these seats are all forward facing on this plane. Not a big deal. The takeoff is a little bit different. We do a flaps 20 takeoff. Normally on a 777-200, you do a flaps 5 takeoff. On a 300, you normally do flaps 15. But on flaps 20 takeoff is very abnormal in a 200. It's a threat for us. We discussed it. We handled it fine. Launched out. Then I got to my seat and went to bed. Again, this is late at night now, so I'm ready to go to bed. Had a very good nap. Then back up front for the whole flight. Captain and I talked. The FO and I talked. Got to Dallas, and we were done a few minutes early. And what's more awesome than doing a red eye than walking from D to A because the trains aren't working at 6 in the morning? It's awesome. Get my steps in at least, but how will I get out of the door? The toll booth by 6:30 because then I have to pay more money. So we'll see how this is gonna work. So we actually prepaid for parking, save a little bit of money at DFW Airport. And if you don't get out of the toll booth in time, they charge you more money, of course. So I was motivated to get over to Terminal A. When we left Hawaii, we were parking in Terminal A. I was all excited, but sometime en route, we got changed to Terminal D. It is what it is. But went out to the parking garage, found the Pimp Wagon Deluxe, and headed out the door. And I'm going to apologize now for the next portion of the video. I don't have my camera mount in my wife's car because it's her car. So I had to mount kind of just hang my iPhone on the Tesla screen to record the next portion of the video. All right, let's get the debrief started.
Don't like the Hawaii flights. Those are real red-eye flights. Like, it's a real red-eye. I was flying when I should be sleeping, and the breaks are so short, it's a short nap. Versus the European flights or any other flight, you get much longer breaks, you get actual sleep in. So we got to the airplane, and we were full, and we had, I think, 3 or 4 non-revs, including a regional pilot, jump seater, and his wife. And it was initially, he had the jump seat, and she had nothing. And they're like, there might be one open seat. We'll have to see. So he came on board, and I could tell he was very new. His name was Alex, I believe. Austin. His name was Austin. Austin. Follower of mine. Thank you for saying hi to me. Anyway, we weren't sure if his wife was going to get on or not. And so I showed him the jump seat, where to store his bag, and how to get into the bed, the bunk, if you wanted a bunk or not. And then we all closed up, and they had one open seat in the back. One open seat in the back. So he took that seat instead. Launched out early. Flaps 20 takeoff, not normal. Climbed up, and I'm just staring at the printer. For my slip to print out. Printed out, and I estimated a 2-hour break, 1 hour and 59-minute break per person. So came out, and I went back to the chair for a break. Again, I'm a side sleeper, and on the 200, the bunks and side sleeping don't mesh well for me. So interesting. They're building the new Terminal F over here. So I didn't go to the bunk. I went to the chair. Got all ready. I slept pretty good. I went back up front well before we got to LA, before we coasted in. And I sat in the FO seat first. He did the leg back. So I was pilot flying. And me and the captain talked quite a bit. I've told him a few times before. I'm sure I mentioned he's the guy I had the engine failure with previously on the Airbus. And it's very interesting talking to him. He's been here for a long time. And he talked about, like, when I first started flying, my first leg ever at the airline was out of Chicago. And he said, see, he was also Chicago-based, but he was a flight engineer. He said it was an advantage being a flight engineer back in the day in Chicago because you can kind of learn how Chicago went from the back seat. So by the time you were FO, you knew how Chicago went. Versus here I was, a brand new FO, brand new to the airlines. I had no idea how Chicago operated. So, and if you don't know, Chicago is different than everywhere else in the world. You keep moving to your total stop. So we talked quite a bit. He is retiring in 2 months. We traded non-rev stories and crazy situation stories back and forth for just an hour and 59 minutes. And then the FO came back up front. And license being checked. FO came back up front, and I got in the captain's seat. And up there for 2 hours. And now on the pilot monitoring, on the radios. Fairly smooth flight. We had the seatbelts on off the entire flight. We had a little bit of bumps, nothing major though. But I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Should be home by 6:30. Plans to go home, take a quick shower, verify my bag is packed correctly for my next flight to Honolulu, which is full, and leave for the house in my Equinox. Probably leave the house around 9:25, 9:30. So I should have maybe a 2-hour-ish nap at home. Hopefully. Yeah, about a 2-hour nap at least. It's probably a little more than that. And we will see how this goes. So unlike my normal videos where I say I'll hand it off to Darren to wrap it up, we'll keep on going. And yeah, I don't like Hawaii flights, but I'm going to stop the video now because if you know anything about Teslas, where this camera, but I'm mounted I'm kind of hanging my phone up here. I'll take a picture of it. It's blocking the speedometer, so I'm driving by how people around me are driving. I can't see how fast I'm going. All right, it continues. So here we are again, 9:35 a.m. headed back to the airport, and I slept for maybe 35 minutes. Very short nap. Tried to sleep more. Didn't work. The normal non-rev thoughts like, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? So start looking at the list. Flight is booked with 2 open seats. There's great weather today, which if you're a non-rev, you know that just means that there's a less chance of me getting on the airplane, because when there's bad weather, it's a higher chance for non-revs, especially if you're starting out in the city that has people connecting. Yeah, you have any passengers? Yeah, we like when there's bad weather, because then we can have your seats. We'll see what happens. I do have the jump seat reserved. So worst case scenario, I'm on a 777 jump seat for 8 hours. I did look at going through Phoenix. My Phoenix option, it went away. Yesterday, there were 15 open seats out of Phoenix, and my nieces are actually on that flight from Phoenix to Kona. But today, there's 1 open seat from Phoenix to Kona, and the way I have to book my seat, I'd be in the jump seat for 7 hours or 6 hours on an Airbus jump seat. No, thank you. Yeah, I love the Airbus, but way more than 73 jump seat. But it wasn't practical. Didn't make any sense, really. So I have 1 backpack. My airback backpack is all I have. I'm going to be carrying. I am going to get some food and snacks, but that's all I'll be carrying is this small thing of snacks and my airback backpack. It has everything I need. Most of my clothes have already been taken by my wife in her suitcase. So the adventure continues. I have done 1 trip that is crazier than this. Actually, my wife and I did it. Years ago when we went to Tokyo when we were kids, I say kids, it's like 2008, that was 17 years ago. God, 16 years ago, whatever many years that is ago, we had flown from Narita to Dallas in coach. We came home, got new clothes, repacked our bag, went back to the airport, and flew all the way to New York. That's where her brother lives. We were freaking exhausted. That was dumber than this, I think. So the adventure continues. Let's see. Stop by 7-Eleven, get some snacks, and then go to the airport. Because again, snacks are cheaper at 7-Eleven than they are at the airport, because I'm frugal. Go to the airport and see what kind of seat I get. Fun, fun, fun.
So, made it to the gate, made it through KCM, didn't get random. I'm on a really good lucky streak. I did realize I probably left home a little bit too late. Wasn't really thinking that one through, leaving home at 9:40 or so, and boarding starts here in 20 minutes. But I made it, even got some snacks by 7-Eleven. So as of now, since I can tell you this in the past, there shows to be 6 open seats, but 3 more people haven't checked in yet. So that could be 9 open seats because they haven't checked in. But depends on how they do the holding the flight. There are some people that aren't coming in until right at departure time, the group of 6. So we'll have to see if they hold the flight. If they don't hold the flight for them, then good for me. If they hold the flight for them, then I'll probably still get in the jump seat. So we will have to wait and see. It is the fun of non-rev. You can normally spot non-revs because we're always looking at our phones at the gate and not near the podium. But that's the game I'll be playing for the next 20 minutes or so. It's 10:12 now, by the way, 10:12. All right. I'm going to fast forward here. For the next over 2 hours, I was at the gate pondering if I'm going to even get on the airplane. The plane had a mechanical issue, no APU. It was a hot plane. Took them a while to cool down the airplane. So we left really late, and I ended up taking the jump seat, as the only open seats were seats in the back and the middle, and I didn't want to sit in the middle seat if I didn't have to. So it worked out for me. Because we were standing by the podium, all the non-revs kind of waiting for a seat. And every non-rev got on, except for one Z user did not get a seat, unfortunately. Took the jump seat. There was only seats in the back that were open, and I'd rather sit to jump than at the very, 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 very back. I'm bougie like that. So I just sat by the flight deck and asked for a ride. Even though it's my own airline, I did ask for a ride because I could be in the jump seat, right? The crew was very accommodating. They said if I wanted to, I could have the upper bunk. I would be in the crew rest seat for takeoff and landing. I'm like, that works for me. I'm exhausted. So took my seat in 1A like I do on a relief pilot flight. I then made the upper bunk and I hung out in the bunk for a good 4 or 5 hours. The first pilot wanted the seat. The first two pilots wanted the seat for their breaks. The last pilot wanted the bunk. So when it was time for her break, I got out of the bunk and I went to the seat for the rest of the flight, including the landing. Got to Honolulu, and then I had about 45 minutes to connect to my Hawaiian flight. And I don't ever connect, right? It's very rare. So I had to ask how to get over there. Again, every agent and every employee for Hawaiian was extremely nice and accommodating. It was a fairly short walk over to the terminal for the flight over to Kona. Again, they have nicer terminals than where we are. I'm sure there's not a coincidence or anything. Got to the desk, and the very nice agent gave me a jump seat form. I filled it out. She verified who I was all electronically and gave me a standby pass, basically to wait for a seat. I took a seat and waited for hopefully for my name to be called. Again, I do use an app called Staff Traveler that lets me know how many seats are open. So I had a pretty good idea.
So the walk was shorter than I thought it'd be to get down to A18. Very nice gate agents here. I think when they helped me was new because she asked if I listed on ID 90, which I didn't because I was told not to. ID 90 is if like my wife and kids were going to do this, they'd have to Z to do it. But because I'm jump seating, it's free. But she put me in the system, gave me the little boarding card thing, which I'm sure I had to get a real seat here from the gate agent here at 4:30 or so. I'm sure I'm very low on the list, but again, the staff traveler app said there was 45 open seats and three non-revs, so it should be pretty good. I did list on Southwest first because I can list them online, but I ended up on the staff traveler app. They were more full. They had 23 open seats but 15 non-revs, right? So I was like, yeah, and it leaves 10 minutes later. So I figured I'm better off on going on Hawaiian than Southwest. And then if I didn't get this flight, the next flight would be at almost 6 p.m. So I'm glad it all worked out so far. Called the wife, and she's going to start heading to the airport here in about 25 minutes. So it's about a 30-minute drive from the house to the airport. So it continues, the adventure. And just for reference, I was 24 hours ago, I was on a van going to the airport in Maui. Yeah, yeah.
Like many airlines, Hawaiian has a website you can go and look at the standby list. I was the very bottom person on the list because I don't work for Hawaiian. I'm just some other person begging for a ride, right? But they started assigning seats. I did get a seat the very last row in the main cabin, but it is a seat in the right direction. It's a very short flight. The flight attendants were very accommodating, very nice. The pilots were very nice as well. Got on board, got to Kona, walked outside to the awaiting lovely Nissan Alta my wife had rented, and we head over to the rental house for the next couple of days.
And it is currently 6:46 p.m., 11:46 p.m. in Dallas, and I'm finally done traveling. 24 hours ago, I was in the back of a 777, headed to Dallas. Now I am here.
And over the next few days, my family really enjoyed Hawaii. Again, I am not a beach person or a water person, but I enjoy seeing my family have fun. We saw the green beach sand, we saw the black beach sand, we saw volcanoes and other things. And again, I don't have vacation days, but having being a pilot, I can move my schedule around. And I was fortunate enough to move my days around for most of the vacation. I did have to leave early, but not before seeing a traditional luau. I did have to head back early on a Thursday so I could be home on Friday to recover to go to my first trip of July on Saturday. And of course, getting home was also an adventure because you can't go direct from Kona to Dallas. So let's see how I get home.
Let's see if I can get a ride home on United. This will be fun. Something different anyway. So I'll be the first to admit that I am a bad commuter. I commuted a few months TDY to LaGuardia many years ago, and then I was a temporarily based in Chicago as a captain. And I only commuted on my own airline except for once or twice. I used United. I think there's twice I used United. But I haven't commuted. I'm not a commuter, right? I haven't flown United in over 10 years. So I looked online about how to list for them, and it says list at the gate. So I'm at the gate. The flight leaves in an hour and 17 minutes.
Along the boarding gate number 4, Southwest
That's not
Airlines.
us. And I'm like, well, there's no one at the gate yet. So I'm kind of paranoid. Should I have gone to the ticket counter first, because it's Hawaii, or just here at the gate? We'll have to see. It says gate online, so I'm hoping that someone comes here to the gate soon so I can at least get on the list. It is very weird for me. People that commute probably think I'm crazy, but this is all new to me. All right, let's see what happens. So step one was getting verified in the system. That's been done. A little bit nervous because so my own airline flight to Phoenix canceled. I leave until 9:30 at night. That was my backup flight. It canceled. And now they're trying to put people from that flight onto this flight. And I heard him say the words weight restricted, which is not a good thing. So we'll see if I even get anywhere tonight. This could be interesting. Good times, good times. But at least I got that part out of the way.
So with my own airline out of play, I had United, Delta, and Southwest. Delta was full. I checked with my buddy over there. So it was United and Southwest. Southwest was even more full, so it was really just United. And again, it was all good except for the weight restrictions, which I did not see coming with a 777, but I guess it can happen. So I was kept working on options I could do, and I figured, you know what, I could always suck it up and buy a ticket on United to LA later that night. It was like $200. I figured $200, not a big deal. I had to buy a ticket, but I waited just to see what would happen because you never give up until the door actually closes. So they had all the non-revs lined up, employees and jump seaters like me and the lady from Southwest, waiting for a seat. Thankfully, we were able to get seats. I'm pretty sure the captain took a delay to get all the non-revs on board due to the weight restriction because we were boarded after departure time. Very, very grateful. Very rushed, walked out to the airplane. Because boarding almost already done, I didn't have time to stop by the flight deck. I asked the flight attendants, can I stop by the flight deck? They said, you know what, we appreciate it, but you go ahead and be seated. So I did take my seat. I did sleep quite a bit on the way to Denver. Once we got to Denver, though, I did make sure to go all the way up to the flight deck and thank the captain and first officer for their ride to Denver. Then walked through the airport in Denver, going on to my next flight on my own airline.
And better news, 6:33, and I already have a boarding pass for my next flight, seat 24A. So things are looking up. They weren't looking bad. Well, they were looking bad in Hawaii, but we're looking up now. Smooth sailing home, and should be another successful non-rev adventure. Yay! I do need food though. I do need food. All right. Oh, good lord, the lines are crazy long for food.
I didn't have a lot of time, so McDonald's it was a McGriddle.
Sometimes the timing works out just great. Currently 6:42. Got my McDonald's breakfast. Boarding is starting soon, so this should work out just fine. Now I think I'm going to stay on. If I stay on Hawaii time for my next trip, it'd be a good thing. But I have my little McGriddle here, and board my airplane and head to Dallas.
Quite the adventure going to and from Hawaii. Now, again, this was my last reserve trip of the month. My initial plan was to get to 85 hours earlier in the month. That way, they couldn't even use me for those last 3 days. In the end, it worked out to my advantage to be done at 6 in the morning on my last day of reserve that allowed me to travel without having any issues to Hawaii. Because again, I couldn't really be traveling on a reserve day if I wasn't released. So if I didn't get that trip, I was still usable, and I would be usable. I would have been released at like 2 in the afternoon on that Saturday due to our contract here. So by me being released at 6 in the morning, I was able to travel to Hawaii the same day. But because I did go over the 76 hours of my reserve guarantee, it was actually 10 hours after all said and done. So I do get the extra 10 hours of pay on top of my reserve guarantee. And then I get my per diem and my international pay as well. Even though Hawaii is domestic, as far as it's part of the United States, it's considered international at my airline. Very long video. Thank you for your support and sticking all the way through it. My name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist. I appreciate your support. If you don't mind clicking like, click subscribe, drop a comment. Have a great day. And as always, thank you for stopping by.